GamingBolt presents 15 things you need to know before you buy the Surge. Of the many Souls-like titles that have garnered our attention in recent times, there are few capable of sustaining it. Deck 13 showed promise with its Lords of the Fallen series, and while a sequel was teased, we're getting something else, the Surge, a sci-fi action RPG set to release on May 16th for Xbox One, PS4 and PC. What should you know about the Surge before it's out? Let's take a look at it in deeper detail. No hand-holding. While the story in the Surge may not capture your imagination immediately, Deck 13 is adamant on making things a lot less linear than Lords of the Fallen. You won't have objective markers telling you where to go or cutscenes setting up the situations. Players will dive straight into the action and go about figuring things out on their own. Inspiration for setting. There are plenty of cliches to be found in the Surge's story, whether it's a shady corporation, a dystopian future, or robots gone wild, and not in a good way. However, the Surge's setting was actually imagined as the worst-case scenario for our current world. So while it may seem all fine and dandy to see mankind and robotics working together, the Surge explores the darker side of that crazy union. Souls-like combat. If it weren't obvious before, the Surge will have combat akin to Dark Souls. This means that you'll be searching for tells from enemies, managing your stamina, hacking, slashing, dodging, and all that good stuff. Of course, it also means battling bosses that can destroy you in a heartbeat, but that challenge is part of the fun. Focus on close combat. Dark Souls is best known for its melee combat, but there's still plenty of potential for long-range projectiles and spells. The Surge isn't quite as versatile though. The combat's primarily focused on close quarters fights. There's still some variety to be had, but for the most part you'll have to get up close and personal to best your enemies. Introducing features. Design-wise, the Surge takes more time to introduce you to its mechanics. It isn't like there's an extended tutorial of anything, but these mechanics will be introduced in a better way. This allows you to take your time and learn everything necessary before going out and slashing fools apart. We'll see how that pans out in-game, and whether it will make the experience any easier as a result. Limb targeting. Enemies in the Surge can range from your usual robots to exosuit-wearing humans that have somehow been zombified, but still want to kill you. In order to properly take down some of these enemies, you'll have to hit their weak points. This means attacking specific limbs, and the targeting helps with this by allowing you to focus on the same. Some enemies have exposed limbs which take more damage. Others may have a weapon you want, and chopping it off is the best way to get it. More on that shortly. Executions. As you battle and combat, you'll build up energy which can be used to perform an execution. Target a specific body part, perform the execution, and you'll cut it clean off, thus adding the gear previously attached to your inventory. This adds some nice variety to combat and allows you to specifically go after pieces you want. Of course, it also doesn't hurt that the executions are epic in their bloodiness. Upgrading your rig. As noted, you can attack specific body parts and sever them off in the process. Besides making life a little bit easier for you, those severed limbs can contain parts for upgrading your own rig. These can range from weapons and armor to salvage use for crafting and upgrades. There's plenty of reason to go a-chopping in the Surge, and we're all the happier for it. No player-created characters. You won't have the ability to create your own characters in the Surge, instead taking control of a pre-made hero of sorts. There's much to learn about the protagonist, the world he's in, and the situation he's dealing with. Long story short though, you're stuck with Joe Average, so get used to his mug over the course of your journey. Horizontal and vertical combat. While Souls games and their variants focus on heavy and light attacks, the Surge segregates its combat strikes a little differently. You'll have horizontal and vertical strikes, which can come in handy for lopping off specific limbs. If nothing else, it further emphasizes the game's weak point system and executions. Equipment. When playing the Surge, you won't have to worry about filling a particular set of stats to equip gear. However, you will have to conform to the overall energy of your rig. If you want to have a particular setup, like all heavy gear, then the rig needs to be leveled up to provide the energy necessary. However, it's possible to equip different gear pieces to each body part, thus mixing things up further. Gear sets. Much like Diablo 3, The Division and every other looter out there, the Surge will have gear sets that grant bonuses depending on the number of pieces equipped. For instance, the Link set doesn't consume as much stamina and allows for better dodging. The trade-off, of course, is that it doesn't pose as much defensive or offensive capability as the Rhino set. Once again, it's up to you to choose which set fits your playstyle. Corpse Collection Time Limit. If you die in the Surge, then you lose the materials gathered thus far. Classic Souls-like games, right? However, like Nier Automata, you'll actually have a limited amount of time to return to your previous body and recollect your stuff. The status quo is to run back to your body as soon as possible, avoiding any enemies in your path. In a neat twist, the Surge adds a modifier that throws in additional salvage from any enemies killed en route to your body. This increases as you rack up the bodies. Implants. Implants add a bit more customization to your character, allowing for specific effects to be triggered. These take up energy from your rig but are worth equipping. Some can heal you, acting as a pseudo-Estus flask of sorts, while others can reduce the energy cost from performing executions, thus allowing you to chain together more of them. You can also display more useful information like an enemy's health bar. PS4 Pro support. Like many games, you can expect PS4 Pro support at launch. It'll have two different modes, a dynamic 4K resolution running at 30 FPS and a 1080p resolution that runs at 60 FPS. High dynamic range lighting or HDR will also be added after launch. So don't worry, you'll be able to enjoy all those gruesome executions in high enough fidelity soon enough.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.